This is why the time vortex changes, but within the laws of the universe. The first Doctor's vortex lacks colour. With more basic shapes and designs, compared to later versions, this vortex actually tells us a lot. We know that the first Doctor was just beginning his adventures out into the universe, attempting to keep his meddling affairs limited, but I mean, we all know how that turns out. So the first Doctor continues travelling as he does, and his adventures start to have an impact on the web of time. This is why when we get to the second Doctor's vortex, and the first Doctor has had a lifetime of meddling, the vortex looks considerably different, with more shapes and more speed. As the second Doctor then ventures out for his lifetime of adventures, he meddles even more than his previous incarnation, so much so that the Time Lords themselves become displeased with the Doctor's interference through space and sentence him to exile on Earth. But the Doctor's interference has already caused the web of time to evolve further. Now it has colour. As the third Doctor breaks his exile, and both him and the Master continue their separated adventures through time, the vortex continues to evolve, and the vortex becomes accustomed to the duo's interference, stabilising in a tunnel-like shape. Now this is where things get ever so slightly confusing. As the years continue, we see much less of the vortex, with intros residing in space rather than time, but we know that from the transition of the third Doctor's vortex to the fourth Doctor's vortex, the vortex itself had become accustomed to the Doctor's travels, and as such stabilised away from the crazy colours and shapes. So over the many lifetimes of the Doctor, this then continues, and the vortex becomes completely accustomed to the Doctor's travels through time. This is where we see it at the TV movie. The vortex is stable, and this is, to date, the most stable the vortex has ever been. But then comes the Time War. The web of time is ferociously attacked, with time being changed every second, new timelines being created and destroyed on a whim. By the end of the war, the vortex is like nothing we've seen before. Staying, however, close to the pre-Time War vortex, the movie Vortex, but this time with an added veracity from the events of the Time War. The vortex is no longer thin as in the TV movie, but now fast, thick, with bright reds and blues. If left alone, it would eventually return to the movie state, but we all know again that's not the case. As the Time Lords break the time lock which would shatter time, they bring through an entire planet. This results in time being utterly devastated, which is why the time vortex then appears to be an almighty storm, with thick clouds and lightning. The vortex is the most damaged and most fierce it has ever been. But, luckily for us, the web of time starts to heal, and eventually we reach Series 7B, where the vortex is now closer to what it was before the Time Lords broke the time lock. The vortex is still fast and a bright red, but it's no longer a fierce storm. Over the years, the vortex thins out more and more as time continues to heal, bringing us to 12's vortex, which is much calmer, thinner, and a pale blue with no sparks or flames. This is the most healed the web of time, and therefore the vortex has been since the events of the Time War. But we know that the TARDIS is linked to time, thanks to the Doctor's TARDIS being what holds the Eye of Harmony, not to mention it's been the Doctor's very TARDIS which has impacted so much of the Vortex's evolution over its primary years. So, as the 12th Doctor regenerates and his TARDIS explodes, time too takes to the damage, leaving time devastated, giving us 13's Vortex, which is just a total mess. However, it's not destroyed to the point of 11's Vortex, as the Vortex has built up resilience over the years, so it holds its time tunnel appearance just far more merged together and thicker than 12's. Then comes the Flux. The Flux devastated time, damaging Atropos and so much more. This resulted in the Vortex once again taking a thicker, stormy-like appearance that we see for the 14th and 15th Doctor. So, who knows what will happen to the Vortex next? All we can do is wait and see what troubles await the Doctor. Now, I also have an in-universe reason for why the Doctor's face changes to the face it does every single time. So if you want that video next Saturday, let me know down below. As always, What Ifs will be out every Tuesday, so I'll see you on Tuesday for the next What If. Oh, and also, maybe that one will be a two-parter.